Welcome to another Being Outdoors Words of Matthias devotion. This time we're going to take a look into Joshua chapter 10. And we're going to talk about God's power and having God's power in our life. And Joshua chapter 10, I'm going to start reading verse 6. It says, "And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp to Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly, and save us, and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said to Joshua, Fear them not, for I deliver them into thy hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Bethram, and smote them to Achizah, and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass as they fled from Israel, and were in the going to Beth-horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Achizah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then Joshua spake to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about the whole day. And there was no day like that before or after, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of man, for the Lord fought for Israel." There's a story in the Bible where it talks about how Joshua went out to battle. And Joshua was fighting, and the Israelites, and at the end of the battle, Joshua, the Bible says there in verse, I believe it's 12:13, says that there was more slew with hailstones than the children of Israel killed. And that goes to show you how much power God has. Did God need those Israelites for that battle? No. He used them to fight, but he didn't necessarily have to have them. He used hailstones. And if you keep reading, Joshua, in the sight of everyone, asked God, he said, God, let the sun and moon stop. And the Bible says, in that last verse that I read to you in verse 14, it says, "And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of man." And I was thinking about this concept, and someone brought it up last week, and I was thinking about it. It said, you cannot ask for the power of God in your life unless you want the presence of God in your life. Now, we as Christians, if you are saved, you have Jesus in your heart, okay? And you have a relationship with Christ. But not only that, the thing is that you have God's power, okay? Now, God had the power to save you, but you can live a life with God's power in your life. Now, I'm not talking about where you're going to be raising people from the dead or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the power of God being manifested in your life, that you let your light so shine before men so they can see your good works. No matter what it is that we do, whether we're lawyers or doctors or teachers or whatever it is our occupation is, or raising children right, raising them the right way, whatever it is our ministry is at church, whatever it is that God calls us to do and we do with our lives, it is very hard to do in your own mind. It can be done, but not in a way that pleases God. If we're going to live a life that's pleasing to God, it's going to be through Him and through His power. And we have to realize that. If you want to raise kids the right way, and I got 3 young boys, so I know it is very difficult at times to raise them the right way and fight with them and deal with what goes on. How do you do that? You do that in God's power. Well, if we study the Bible, we see that God has great power, doesn't He? Okay? He was able to, in this case, use the hailstones. He hearkened to the voice of Joshua, because Joshua had his presence and had God's power on him to stop the sun and moon. If Jesus Himself was able to make people rise from the dead, then that would, reason and logic would tell you that God is all powerful, but that we can have God's power in our life. But we can't ask for God's power in a spirit-filled life if we're not willing to have His presence. And some of you may be thinking, well, how do you get God's presence in your life? Well, first is by being saved, and we touched on that. But furthermore, that is that you're willing to live a life that aligns with what God's Word says. And what I mean by that is, do you have a relationship with God? Do you pray? Do you read your Bible? When you go to church or you listen to a speaker, do you try to let God speak to your heart? What type of relationship are you trying to have? And if you are living a life that's pleasing to the Lord, you're going to have God's power. You're going to have those presence there. And I gave this analogy that if I was to go to a Chevrolet dealership and I was to buy everybody I know, let's say 10 people I know, a Corvette. Now, all those Corvettes will be identical. They all have the same amount of horsepower in them. And we'll just say a Corvette has 600 horsepower. And if I was to give those cars to those 10 people, there would be some that would drive that car just like they do their normal car. There would be some that would see how fast it goes 0 to 60. There would be some that would go 100 miles an hour in it. There would be some that would do what my dad used to call about my uncle, say they would bury the needle and keep on laughing. And then there would be a group of people that would just put around town. They might be afraid of the horsepower. And I gave that analogy and drew the correlation that God can be like that. God's that Corvette that you have the power of God, or you have the potential to have God's power in your life, but are we willing to let that be manifested? Just like with a Corvette. You have 10 people with Corvettes, they all have 600 horsepower. What are they doing with that horsepower? And you and me are like that. We're sitting in the Corvette seat if we've been saved. So we have the keys, the engine's running. It's idling right now. But how far do we want to press that pedal down? Do we want to see Christ manifested in our life and us be all that we can be? Or are we reserved? And we're like, well, I don't want to sell out too much for God. I don't know if I want to get too involved at church. I don't want to know if I want to have too much of an impression made. Or I just don't know if I want to invest that much of myself. And if we fall into that category, we'll always have issues. And so my question is, how much are we willing to let God be manifested in our life? This has been a Words of Matthias. I hope this gives you something to think about. If you have any questions about what you've seen or heard, our number is 336-564-2400. Stay tuned for another Words of Matthias next month.